本節目內主持人及嘉賓的言論純屬個人意見，並不代表本台立場。
Hi, this is the last episode of Boiling Point. I'm Ben, and
I'm Julian.
Here with Julian, and yes, we have to say goodbye. We have to. First of all, I want to say thank you to MIHK, Crocodile, Barry, and Paul for basically allowing me to do this show with Julian until now. I guess
we have to give our thanks to our guests too.
Yep, let's all our guests, and a special thanks to Amelia, who came on the show twice.
Twice or three times? I have no idea.
I think it was twice. Now, so this show is ending. Officially for budgetary reasons, money issues. At least, officially. In reality, I don't know if that's the case. We have been touching on some sensitive issues, and we have been doing kind of original content. We haven't been, just repeating. The typical stuff that's in the news. We've actually, expressed our ideas and opinions.
As well as certain controversial topics.
Well, I think
maybe, and maybe it's because we don't have a pretty face or cleavage to show like on a daily basis.
I think 2 weeks ago, when we discussed the Yellow Umbrellas and Ray Wong's appearance with them, that might have been a sensitive topic, because it was after that we first heard that the show might.
I'm not sure about that. I mean,
well, you said you said you felt awkward to see Ray Wong with the Yellow Umbrellas.
Yeah, it is, and still we're seeing him in actually in a picture with. With Benedict Rogers, but since we're not going to, since it's your decision not to talk about that, and I'm not showing it.
Yeah. So
still holding the yellow umbrella.
Yeah. So it is a bit sad. I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest, that this is happening. And although I was offered to do the show until the end of the month, end of this month. I don't want to cause any more. I don't want to cause any trouble for Barry or MIHK or Crocodile. So I thought perhaps just one final episode. And I guess, I think we've been. I want to thank you too, Julian, actually, because
I have to thank
you've been, a great co-host
And we have been covering each other's asses like for dozens of times.
And I think we kind of helped each other. Like our conversation was quite enlightening. Like I learned a lot from you, and
information-wise.
Well, just hearing your opinions and information-wise. But I guess some of our topic of discussion, or some of the things we said, perhaps may have upset some people, or some people may not have appreciated it. And to be honest, I think that's why this show is coming to an end. So when the Pan-Democrats talk about censorship by by Chinese forces, by red capital, you know, I feel, you know, that's fine. But, you know, I feel that basically this show is being censored too.
I'm kind of reserved in this because seriously, I don't think we have that kind of penetration. I mean, I know
we don't have.
If there are lots of, if there are lots and lots of people watching a show, then it might be the issue. But
I did hear a rumor. That I'm seen as being anti-American.
You're seen as an anti-American?
Yeah.
But you're supporting Trump.
I'm not supporting Trump as a person, but I'm supporting nationalism, American nationalism against globalism. I think.
So I don't think you're anti-American.
Well, you see,
because if you do,
exactly, I'm not anti-American.
Because if you do, you'll be like doing all these ISIS shit, like from a really different point of view. I
think the anti-American globalist deep state doesn't appreciate some of my comments, and that's why this show is being probably, perhaps.
I have no idea. Still, I have
no
idea.
It's a conspiracy theory, of course.
All right.
A conspiracy theory. So, in keeping with our tradition of busting the globalist deep state and their tricky methods. I mean, I don't have a problem with globalism, but the methods that the globalists are using to try and pull down the US government that was duly elected, the disrespect for the people's vote. I think it depends on like when you're doing globalism. It's like it is not the right time to do that kind of thing because we see that, for example, in Europe, when all these countries are like having some complicated debt issues, they're like bound with each other. Yeah.
And the people, the people, the Europeans, they're slowly losing what's made them special.
Yeah. Well, it's happening
also
in many
with
places.
The immigrants issues from Africa. It's like if in a time like this, if the conflicts between the Western world and the Islamic states, Africans, if it's in heat, and if they're bringing out all these globalization ideals, like we shouldn't shun them, we should accept all those people in need, blah 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 blah, and but it's actually wartime. So I don't think it's a good time to do things like that, causing lots of issues like crime and
Yeah. Keeping in the tradition of kind
busting balls,
busting open some of these secrets, I want to discuss a report in CNN. Operator, can you please show image 0? And I actually don't.
Control panel 係啦0號圖應該。
This is CNN from a few, I don't know, days ago.
CNN.
Okay, now the point I want to make.
Dishonest media, right?
Well, it's a very interesting point. That's an interesting question. Now they're quoting this guy woman called Censorship. And I'm very curious about who this person is because it seems to be a pseudonym, and this person has written a book. Operator, can you please show image 1?
1號圖應該係啦。
And the publisher of this book is Pima Press. And if you do a Google search of Pima Press, that publisher doesn't have a website. So I'm very suspicious about this person, Censorship and the publisher of the book. And I'm just wondering who this person is. And I wonder if CNN using or quoting this Kong Chong-gan character is kind of falling into the, he's just being a kind of a propaganda organ of intelligence agencies, Western intelligence agencies. If you do a Google search on who this person is, operator, can you please show pick 2? This person is a human rights worker, democracy activist, and freedom advocate, according to this old Hong Kong Free Press webpage. Funnily, that's the cache, the Google cache. If you look at the page now, the terms human rights worker, democracy activist, and freedom advocate have been deleted. Operator, can you please show pick 3? Do you think it sounds like a pseudonym?
Sorry?
Does that name sound strange to you as a Hong Konger?
Yes. It's more like the name for some author. It's like some, it's not the real name to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a pseudonym, and several people have said that. And anyway, CNN is quoting this character. So I think, and what we can say, that shows that CNN uses kind of suspicious sources for its stories. And of course, in the US, there's a lot of controversy about using unnamed sources. And a lot of those stories using unnamed sources have been basically trashing Trump and that administration.
Yep.
So
even now, even after all these election crap,
well,
they're still like ganging up on him.
Yeah, and it's kind of disgraceful because it's disrespect of democracy. It's authoritarianism. If the globalists don't realise that, their party had to come to an end, the people would accept globalism for decades and decades and not realise that they're actually losing out of globalism.
And also, I don't know if you
Operator, that's enough of that pick, thanks.
I don't know if you paid any attention to all these. I don't know if you have paid attention to all these gossips, but it's becoming like bigger and bigger thing in Hollywood. It's like there was this case about someone who was really powerful. Yeah, and there were lots of scandals exposed about him. Laying his dirty hands on those actors wannabe. He's a rapist. Actress wannabe, and actually some said that he actually raped some of them. Yeah. And well, we all know that when it comes to the side of Hillary Clinton and the globalist side. Yeah, the globalist side, they're really into that kind of thing. Well, they're into. I mean, there were some scandals like during the presidential election. Yeah. That Hillary Clinton was actually involved in some kind of sex parties. Gosh, involving children. Oh God. Let's not go there. It sounds like it's terrible. But I just want to make one more hard-hitting point before we come to the end of this segment. I want to, talk, as we were talking about globalism, and part of globalism is being a global citizen, right? Yep. And I know there's one global citizen in Hong Kong. His name's Avery and he told me he's a global citizen, and I like Avery, but I've got to I've got to question him. I mean, he's nice to me, but I've got to question him about some of the things he says, because he told me that Edward Leung is a racist. Now that sounds exactly like
this is
those
exactly
people
what
in
global
like,
citizens
no,
say.
like the Antifa.
Well, anybody who doesn't agree with globalism and being a global citizen
And
is a
they're quick
racist.
to label. They just point fingers and say shit like that. It's like, oh, you're racist. Oh, yeah.
I just want to point out, I'm
you're sexist. You're a rapist.
I'm recalling this anecdote because it shows the absurdity, the stupidity of being a global citizen and being a globalist when you call Edward Leung a racist. Because just because he believes in nationalism, he believes in the existence of nations, and that's what nationalism is. Accepting the fact that nations exist. There are different peoples in the world. If you're a global citizen and you deny the existence of nations, the whole concept of colonization is impossible. Colonization is only possible when there are different peoples in the world, different nations.
Yep. It's easily
So
appealing.
this is my problem with the globalists. They don't, they're not rooted in fact and reality. They're rooted in this utopia and lies and deception and or false consciousness. So, and actually, with this, the globalist deep state, you know, they're using any method at all, very disgraceful methods to try and bring down Trump because they think that their utopia of a globalist world is so important that any method is okay. So they're doing anything. They're doing lots of nasty, unacceptable things, and this is why. You know, I'm really against those that globalist deep state. Their methods are just totally unacceptable and disgraceful.
Libtards, Antifa.
I mean, a lot of people just kind of have this sense, they don't realise that, you know, actually globalism as an ideology is fine, as a utopia, but actually the flip side is fine too. So if you can't realise that, it's a problem. And if you start
the
using...
The problem is they fail to realize the difference between discriminating a race different from yours and maintaining a country. They have serious problems in understanding the differences between these two.
Yeah.
Well, there's an interesting saying in the U.S. Army. They said that when it comes to colors, there's only one color in the U.S. Army. It's green.
Yeah, the globalists always want to say nationalism is about is racism, and it's not. And that's why it's so stupid for Avery to call Edward Leung a racist, just because he's a nationalist. But yeah, equating nationalism and racism is what the globalists do. And what the global citizens do, and actually, I want to recall. Do you remember that Apple Daily cartoon that we showed a few months ago? It had a picture of a Hong Konger. It was a Hong Konger and a Chinese, and the Chinese had like yellow skin, and the Hong Konger had pink skin.
Yep.
Now, Apple Daily trying to suggest that there's some racial difference between Chinese and Hong Kongers is preposterous, absurd, and stupid. And similarly, Avery saying that Edward is a racist is the same thing. So, you know, let's be rooted in fact, reality,
and also the funny side when it comes to Edward Leung's background. I think he was not born in Hong Kong. He was born in China, and if Avery is saying that he's a racist, I think he's.
It's just stupid, right?
Yeah. It's just nonsense.
But it's just the automatic response of global citizens to anyone who actually affirms they belong to a nation rather than some global citizenry.
Well, the way is it's just exactly the same way the Red Guards used back in the Cultural Revolution era. Yeah, it's like they don't debate with you. They just point at you, make up an angry face, and then they name you, label you, and then you'll be in trouble. Yeah, exactly. As long as they got enough numbers and as long as they're armed.
Yeah, and the way the the globalist deep state and globalists in general are trying to basically overrule the election result and to brainwash people into thinking that if they're not a global citizen, they're a racist. It's really disgraceful. And
as long as we know the motive behind that, and then you see things really clearly.
Yeah, but it's easy to be brainwashed because most of the Western media is so in tune with that whole narrative.
Yep. Well, I think there's time for this segment.
Yeah, we've got to finish.
Stay tuned for the next one.
Bye.
經錯過我哋精彩嘅節目，而家上嚟呢個網址就可以訂閱晒我哋8大頻道，付費之後仲可以重溫晒所有精彩嘅節目。記得要訂閱我哋嘅 YouTube channel 同埋讚好我哋嘅 Facebook 專頁啊！